Caitlin.
Hello.
Thanks for being here today. I was really hoping that we could help loved ones and family members understand what day treatment is.
Yeah, so I think when people often hear counseling, they think of like that once weekly counseling appointment or maybe every other week. A day treatment is a higher dosage of care for our adolescents when they're struggling. Could be due to high risk of harm to self, or if their mental health is really impacting their functioning, difficulties at schools, maybe a decline in academic performance or isolation patterns that are pretty significant. Sometimes we see multiple areas of concern present at the same time. And so when that's happening, oftentimes a teen could benefit from a little bit more than once weekly outpatient counseling, or maybe they don't have the opportunity to engage in once weekly outpatient counseling. And so at that time, they might be referred to a day treatment program. So our teens who are in our day treatment come for 15 hours per week. They're here for 3 hours each day, either in the morning and afternoon, and they primarily engage in group work, although individual and family are definitely a part of treatment as well. So when a teen arrives on site each day, they're going to do an emotional coping group, kind of do a check-in on how things have been in the past 24 hours. And then we're going to move into a therapy group. And in that, teens can learn different skills that they can apply in their own lives, different ways to think about things, and maybe how their mental health can impact their functioning. And we really ask them to process and apply that to their own situation. And then finally, our last group of the day is going to be a social skills group. And then that one, we're really targeting the way that we interact with others as it's impacted by our mental health. So it could be things like working on making eye contact or initiating a conversation or being able to continue in a conversation. A lot of those skills are often impacted by anxiety or depression or a trauma history. And so targeting those within skills groups gives us unique opportunities to practice them. So that's what a typical day looks like.
How do you know when a teen needs a program like day treatment? And are there signs to look for?
So there's often 4 things that I would ask a parent to look for when making a recommendation for this level of care. So the first thing we're going to look at is mood changes. Is there an increase in sadness, irritability, maybe anxious related anxiety or worries? So that would be one thing that we would want to look for that's kind of out of the norm for your teen. Another would be changes in behavior. So if there's an increase in isolation, maybe more time spent in room than there has been in the past, or less interactions with the family system or socially. Maybe you had a teen who was highly involved in extracurricular activities and they've now dropped out of those, or there's reluctance to engage in other activities. Another one would be physical changes. So increased like agitation or restlessness, or the opposite, right? A teen moving really slowly throughout the day. So maybe like climbing the stairs at a much slower pace than they typically have in the past, day after day. That could be a sign to look for. And then finally, if there's avoidance of situations. And oftentimes at this level of care, we see many of those concerns coupled together. So it's not just one of those, but several different kind of signs that they might benefit from some extra services.
Right. And do school grades tend to slip too, or are they not going to school? Is that part of it?
Yeah, so during the school year, we would also look at maybe academic performance or engagement. So avoidance of school could definitely be a sign that a client could benefit from day treatment. That could be due to like depressed mood and low motivation, or anxiety and avoidance of a situation. Or also like a decline in academic performance. Perhaps you had a student who was getting B's and C's and now they're getting D's or failing, having a hard time organizing things, turning in papers, etc. Could be a sign to seek out counseling as well.
What are the benefits of being in a group?
In a group setting, we certainly can have times to process things, but our teens are able to relate to one another on so many things that maybe they wouldn't with an adult that's in the room as well. But those conversations are guided by a professional. So we know that teens want to interact with other teens. It's developmentally appropriate for them to do so. But having, some professional guidance within those conversations and opportunities to insert psychoeducation can be a really great way to provide treatment. And then just opportunities to practice those skills too, right? To know you're not the only one who's struggling with your mental health concerns, and to have opportunities to practice the skills in a judgment-free space.
Why would you say that it can be more effective than outpatient counseling?
Because our treatment is more sessions per week, it's that 15 hours versus 1 hours, we are really able to target more comprehensive concerns. And then maybe we would be able to do in the outpatient setting. A lot of times when we are processing things within therapy, it can kind of pick up other stuff or make it more difficult to get from therapy session to therapy session. And so if a teen is struggling with maintaining safety or even functioning between therapy sessions, and a little bit extra might be needed, a day treatment could be something to consider, so that they can acquire those skills, with the goal of them being able to step back down to, a once weekly therapy session, and eventually no therapy sessions, if that's recommended as well.
What can families expect for collaboration of care for their teen?
As far as coordination of care with outpatient counselors, we do like to kind of gather histories from the individuals who know the family systems best, and coordinate care there as possible. We typically do, just for best care, recommend that families fully transfer care over to Christian Family Solutions while the teens are in the day treatment program. And that just allows us to have best communication with the family systems, and to kind of fully understand what treatment is being targeted while the client's in the day treatment. But oftentimes when teens finish our program, they go back to working with their individual therapist who they were with prior to enrolling.
I know that faith is integrated when a client requests it. What does that look like?
Yeah, so in individual sessions, if clients want to integrate faith and spirituality, we are the place to go for that. As a Christian counselor, I know that it is so beneficial to be able to recognize how God's word can impact us and how God is our support, and we can find hope in Him. And so those are things that I love to bring into counseling. If a client doesn't share a similar faith background or isn't interested in that integration, that is okay too. We still offer evidence-based mental health services, and can utilize those with clients as well. So really, we just want to help as many people as we can and meet people where they're at. And so if faith and spirituality is something that wants to be integrated, awesome. And if it's not, we can still offer really sound care too.
Would you give an example of a teen who may have needed help, participate in the program, and now is thriving with long-lasting results?
One of the things that we're able to do in this day treatment setting is create a space that teens feel comfortable and where we really accommodate to allow them to open up and take the time that they need in order to feel safe and process in those settings. So I'm thinking of one client specifically who the first day they sat in their car outside for the first hour of treatment, and our team was out there like interacting with them and just trying to reduce anxiety, and made up a really solid plan for re-engagement for the rest of the week. And that by the end of the week, that teen was engaging within groups. They were in a program for about 5 months, and upon completion, were using those social skills that they got to practice in the group setting, had a reduction of anxiety, going to full school days, which for this teen was not happening prior to being in treatment, and engaging in family therapy too, and just being able to have a more open relationship with their parents. So here at Christian Family Solutions, our team really believes that it starts with a relationship, and so we really focus on cultivating those nurturing relationships with clients, so that they can know that they are valued and that they're worthy of care and support, and that really impacts how they view themselves and how they interact with the world around them.
I appreciate your time.
Thank you.